But coming in at number 10, what came before the Big Bang? So the Big Bang was what started the universe billions of Earth years ago. But like, what came before that? We honestly don't really know, and our smartest minds theorize the answer is extremely simple. Stephen Hawking noted that the answer could literally be nothing. We have no observable evidence of what came before everything. I come from the Top 10 Nerd channel, and this question has been answered in different ways in comic books. In Marvel, they say that we are in a version of the cosmos, meaning there was a previous version that ended up getting destroyed and remade. But if that's the case, what's doing the destroying and the remaking? If nothing came before, then what the heck caused the Big Bang in the first place? If there was something before, what would that do to the way we think about the universe? And if something is responsible for it all, I don't know if our tiny little human brains could actually handle that. Number 9, gravity paradox. This question is a pretty simple one, but yet it's got a lot of scientists kind of completely stumped. Why can a refrigerator magnet defy an entire planet's gravitational pull? It's basically asking why gravity can be such a strong force in the universe but also be such a weak one in other instances. Some scientists believe that gravity may well be as strong as other forces like electromagnetism and the force that holds the nucleus together, but they think that gravity's influence is dissipated because it leaks into extra dimensions. That's just a theory though, because we actually have no idea. That one little question about refrigerator magnets has kind of brought the whole idea of gravity into question. If it is being dissipated into extra dimensions, that opens up way more questions than it actually answers. Obviously, I'm not smart enough to answer this question. I am, after all, just a YouTube host, not a scientist, but I would just think it's all subjective, right? Like, a planet is so huge that the things that are on the planet would have to follow different gravitational rules, right? And like a magnet is still being affected by the Earth's gravity, it's just so small in comparison that it can do its own thing? I'm literally talking out my butt right now. I honestly don't know what I'm talking about. We should just move on before I make myself sound more dumb than I already am. Number 8, how big is the universe? I don't know if you guys have seen that clip from Pete Holmes' stand-up routine, but he talks about how none of any of this makes any sense. The universe is constantly expanding and infinitely. Infinity is getting bigger, and like Pete says, that makes no freaking sense. If the universe is constantly expanding, and we know it's constantly expanding, then when posed with the question of how big the universe is, someone would be able to give you an answer, but we don't actually have a number for that because we literally don't know the shape of the universe, and we don't know the actual rate at which the universe is expanding. We just know that it is. To me, this question almost doesn't matter for most of us, because even if we were to try to go to the edge of the universe, no one here can live long enough to make that journey. It takes roughly 9 to 12 years to get to Pluto, and that's just the furthest planet, yes, I'm calling it a planet, in our solar system, which itself is just an extremely tiny speck in our Milky Way galaxy, which is also just a tiny speck in the vastness of the universe. It's all too big. This is what I'm basically saying here. Number 7, expansion. The last point does lead me nicely into this next point though, which is the fact that while we know the universe is constantly expanding, we can't actually put a pin on the rate at which it is actually expanding. For the past 6 years, the Hubble Space Telescope has been calculating the speed at which the universe is expanding, and recently came up with what is accepted as the most precise measurement to date, except that the rate stands in direct conflict with independent measurements of the early universe's expansion. That's unsettling for astrophysicists because it means we know even less about our universe and its ways than we thought we did. But if we do learn this one, would that be a good thing? Or would it just help us all feel more and more meaningless and tiny? Of course, these are scientific questions, so our emotions about these things aren't really important, but I'm just saying, I already feel small and insignificant. Number 6, the multiverse. If you have been keeping up with the MCU, then you are at least familiar with the idea of a multiverse. Essentially, it means that if you go far enough into the universe, things would have to start repeating because there's only a finite number of ways that particles can be arranged in space and time. According to theories, the universe is flat and infinite, so those particles would have to repeat, creating another universe with another Earth and, yes, another you. And because it's all infinite, there would be infinite versions of you who could be doing the exact same things as you right now, or maybe they wore different different clothes today, or had a completely different job, or honestly, there are an infinite number of variables here. The thing is, we will most likely never know if this theory is true or not. And even if we did, that means there would be an evil alternate you, or maybe you are the evil alternate one. I don't know about that one, man. I don't like that. Number 5, what the heck is dark matter? Dark matter gives out no light, or at least too little light for us to detect. We know it exists because we see the effect of its gravity on the stars and the galaxies, like the Milky Way, which could not have dragged in enough matter to make its own stars in the 13.82 billion years since the Big Bang without there being a lot of invisible matter whose extra gravity helped speed things along. I hope that wasn't too confusing. The European Space Agency Planck satellite found that dark matter accounts for 26.8% of the mass energy of the universe compared with the 4.5% of normal atomic matter. This basically means that dark matter outweighs the visible stars and galaxies that we can actually see by a factor of about 6. And yet, no Earth-based experiment has found any evidence of dark matter at all. And we have been looking for a long time. It's totally possible that our theory of matter, or more likely our theory of gravity, needs to be reworked and fiddled with. It's also possible that maybe the universe is filled with dark stars and dark planets and dark life. What does that even mean? I don't know. Do you know? Because I don't. Number 4, what is time and does it even exist? So, when we talk about time, we imagine it flowing, like a river, like a time stream. But for something to flow, by definition, it has to flow with respect to something else, like how a river flows with respect to a river bank. So, does time flow with respect to something else? Another kind of time? Maybe? I don't know. The idea seems kind of stupid and kind of just made up, but most likely the flow of time is an illusion that we created on our own with our brains to organize the information constantly flooding in through our senses. We also have a strong sense of a shared past, present, and future. However, the idea of a common present, meaning the time right now that everyone's in, doesn't actually exist in our understanding of relativity. Precisely how someone else's time is sliced up depends on how fast they are moving relative to you or the strength of the gravity they are experiencing. These effects are only really noticeable with things like the speed of light and supermassive gravity, which is why they are not super obvious to us in everyday life. But it basically means the idea that one person's interval of time is not the same as another person's, and that one person's interval of time is not the same as another's. If you watch Interstellar, there's a pretty basic explanation of this, as different members of the crew age differently as they split up to different places around a massive black hole and other planets whose gravities affect all the characters differently time-wise. It's just, my brain hurts actually a lot right now. Number 3, do we have everything wrong? Isaac Newton's theory of gravity was accurate enough to fly spacecraft to the moon, but it began breaking down when extremely high speeds and very strong gravitational fields became known to us. Then, Einstein's theory of general relativity came in and was a better alternative. It correctly describes the bending of starlight by gravity, the orbital decay of binary pulsars, and the warping of space-time around a black hole. Really cool stuff like that. General relativity is currently physicists' best theory of gravity, but it doesn't answer everything, obviously, which is why history will probably repeat itself and physicists might discover small effects that would hint at an even better theory of gravity. Einstein's theory has passed most of the things that might test it with flying colors, but physicists will keep putting their theories on the rack. One day it may even fail, not being completely wrong, but just one small part to a bigger puzzle that none of us will be alive to learn the answer to. Number 2, Earth, Martians. Oh boy, this one's a doozy. Okay, so look, we take it for granted that life on Earth actually began here. We just kind of assume that that's the way things worked. But that's not actually necessarily accurate. Apparently, scientists are actually finding evidence that life on Earth may have instead come from Mars, and was brought to this planet by like a meteorite at some point in Earth's incredibly long history. The trouble is that scientists themselves can't even agree on which area of science will provide the answer to this conundrum, and let alone whether science is even where we should look to answer it, which, like Pete said about the universe's expansion, that makes no frickin' sense. What do you mean? What do you mean we can't? What? Number 1. Aliens. Since the early 1960s, scientists have theorized that it's extremely likely that intelligent life exists outside of Earth, and I, for one, totally agree. The math kind of has to mean it's true. The universe is ever expanding, infinite, and contains countless other galaxies just like ours, with planets that would be in the similar position as ours is to their sun, and with the right conditions for life to actually thrive and grow, like the planet Kepler 186f, which you should look up if you haven't before. It's kinda cool. The trouble is that we have basically zero scientific evidence to prove that the life could potentially exist, or does in fact exist. In fact, we have no hard scientific evidence that any life exists outside of Earth. Although with that planet, we actually just can't see that far down onto like the surface of the planet to see what's going on. So it could be there, we just can't see it. Although we are finding some fun stuff on Mars that may say otherwise. The time may be drawing closer and closer to when science confirms that there is life elsewhere in our solar system or the galaxy, or at least somewhere in the universe. And I really hope I'm alive for that. The thing that gets me though is, if whatever is out there is advanced enough to see us too, and if it is advanced enough to see us, then is it advanced enough to make it here? And if that's the case, then we are not as advanced as that, and we should stand no chance in defending ourselves against something like that, assuming they would want to hurt us, which as humans we would just assume they would, and if they didn't, I think our stupid human brains wouldn't be able to handle the fear of not knowing, and we'd do something dumb like attack them, and then we'd be gone because we just can't stand up to that kind of thing, you know what I'm saying?
Starting off this list, in our number 10 spot, we have how big is the universe? Okay, so we have our sun, which is a star that is surrounded by, we'll say 9 planets, and that makes up our solar system. Our solar system is located within the Milky Way galaxy, and it is currently believed that there are about 200 other solar systems in our galaxy. That's a lot of planets floating around in our galaxy alone, but that's not it. In our observable universe, the things we can tangibly see, there's about 150 billion other galaxies. And that's just what we can see. That number could technically go on for, well, that's exactly the thing. We don't know how much that number could grow, but it's been theorized that the number is 250 times higher than the 150 billion we can see. That's like an incomprehensible amount, and that's just galaxies. When we take that knowledge and apply it to how many solar systems that would mean, and how many planets that would mean, I can totally understand why we may never know for sure just how big the universe is, but this really does have the ability to make you feel exceptionally small. In our number 9 spot today, we have energetic cosmic rays. Energetic cosmic rays are described as high-energy protons and atomic nuclei that move through space at nearly the speed of light. There are some that originate from supernovas, but there are some that originate from outside of our galaxy, and those ones have scientists wondering where they are coming from and what the source of them is. As these cosmic rays flow into our solar system, their paths are bent by the magnetic fields of both the sun and the Earth. Upon impact with Earth's atmosphere, these rays produce a shower of secondary particles. Some of these particles do end up reaching Earth, but most are intercepted by either the magnetosphere or the heliosphere. The strongest cosmic rays are extremely powerful, and they can have energies over 100 million times greater than a man-made collider. If you're wondering why you should care about this space mystery, it's because these things have the power to cause our digital systems to crash, and in our ever-increasing digital world, that would cause some major disruptions to our life. This is why we care about how many of their origins remain a complete mystery that has scientists stumped. And also because shouldn't we just know where these things that are bombarding Earth's atmosphere are coming from? In our number 8 spot today, we have what is dark energy. Astronomers astronomer Edwin Hubble, whom the Hubble telescope is obviously named after, in the 1920s made the discovery that the universe is not static and in fact is actually expanding. He was studying a supernova when he realized that the universe was not only expanding, but it was expanding at a much higher rate now than it was a long time ago. This discovery was groundbreaking because prior to this, scientists believed that the gravity of matter would end up at least slowing the expansion of the universe, if not causing it to contract. Since this switched up everyone's way of thinking so much, there then began to be the debated topic of dark energy. This is the idea that there is an inexplicable force that is pulling the cosmos apart at speeds that are only increasing. Dark energy is said to make up 73% of the universe, but we still haven't been able to pin it down directly and detect it. Basically what I'm saying is we're pretty sure it's there, but we have no idea what it is. So that's a little terrifying. In our number 7 spot today, we have what is dark matter? Okay, if dark energy and all the mysteries it holds weren't enough, now we've got dark matter to talk about, and I'm sorry, but there's no more answers with this one either. In the 1960s and 1970s, scientists began to hypothesize that there might be more mass in the universe than we can see. After this, an astronomer with the Carnegie Institution of Washington named Vera Rubin was studying the speed of stars at different locations within galaxies. What she found was that there was essentially no difference in the velocity of the stars, whether they were closer to the center of the galaxy or whether they were further out. This was an interesting discovery because that defied the most basic laws of physics, right? Like applying what we knew at that point, it would have made more sense for the stars on the outskirts of the galaxy to orbit more slowly than those at the center. In order to explain this and why this was happening, astronomers began discussing the phenomena of dark matter. It can't be seen, but it has a mass, which is how it is able to be detected because it exerts some sort of gravitational pull on regular matter. Dark matter makes up 23% of the universe, and if you remember, dark energy accounts for 73%, so that leaves us with a whopping 4% of matter that we understand better and know more about, which is matter like humans, planets, stars, and that sort of thing. The other 96% of what the universe is made of is one of space's greatest mysteries. In our number 6 spot today, we have the sun. The extra hot outer atmosphere of the sun is called the corona. It extends thousands of kilometers above the visible surface of the sun, and it ends up transforming into solar wind that flows throughout our solar system. The corona is usually sitting at a temperature of 500,000 to 6 million degrees Celsius, or 900,000 to 10.8 million degrees Fahrenheit. Apparently for years, scientists have been stumped on how exactly the sun has the ability to continually reheat the corona. Astronomers have been able to narrow down all of the possibilities to energy beneath the surface and some sort of processes in the sun's magnetic field, but the exact mechanics of the coronal heating is still highly debated. Just last year in June of 2020, however, scientists did get one step closer to potentially being able to answer this question. There were tiny bursts of energy detected called nanoflares, and this might be what is responsible for the heating of the outer atmosphere. In our number 5 spot today, we have KIC 8462852. Ah yes, the star with the most memorable name. This star, which has also been referenced as Tabby's star or the WTF star, is an F-type main sequence star which is located in the constellation Cygnus about 1,470 light years away from Earth. This star is of particular importance because of the fact that it shows unusual light shifts, which includes a 22% dimming in brightness. Basically, from our point of view, something continually blocks the star, and it likely isn't a planet because a Jupiter-sized planet would only block about 1% of a star the size of this one. So what could it possibly be? There are a few theories out there surrounding this anomaly, but none are able to fully explain what is happening here. Some believe that it is some sort of uneven ring of dust orbiting the star. Others believe that the star's luminosity fluctuates depending on the efficiency of the heat being transported to its photosphere. These are just two of the theories surrounding the star, but there are many more out there, and at this point we just don't know. Hopefully once the James Webb Telescope is launched, however, we will be able to get a more clear picture of what may be happening over there on KIC 8462852. In our number 4 spot today, we have a supermassive black hole. Why is there a supermassive black hole at the center of most galaxies? We know that this is often the case, but we just can't figure out why. Every galaxy's supermassive black hole ranges in size, and we know that a stellar black hole forms from a supernova when the core of the star implodes, but we don't know how a supermassive black hole is formed. Because of the fact that the center of galaxies is where a lot of matter is boxed in, it could happen that supermassive black holes form from a cluster of regular stellar black holes, which end up all merging together because they were in a tight confined space at the center of the galaxy. There are other theories as well, such as the possibility of these supermassive black holes being formed during the Big Bang. What I'm trying to get at is we don't know how these things are formed, or why they're in the center of most galaxies, or even if there were supermassive black holes before the galaxies even existed. Maybe one day we'll find out, but this might just be one of those mysteries destined to stay a secret. In our number 3 spot today, we have the space roar. Space is a vacuum, so it should be silent, right? Well, apparently it's not. It is said that the entire universe is alive with sound, and there is a thing called a space roar. Space roar apparently isn't an everyday sound and is rather these strange radio signals that scientists have detected throughout space. These signals are so loud that they are able to drown out other signals, which can be quite annoying for the scientists who are trying to study and learn. While we know what the sound is, we don't know where it is coming from. Apparently, some people believe it was coming from the leftover radiation from early stars, and some others believe it was from the gases swirling around the galaxy in clusters, but at the end of the day, no one is really sure, and it remains one noisy mystery. In our number 2 spot today, we have how will the universe end? Perhaps a morbid question, but it's a good one. I mean, all good things must come to an end, and that might include our universe itself. But maybe it doesn't. I mean, we don't know. That's the whole point of this video. There are theories, such as the Big Crunch, which suggests that the expansion of the universe, which has been ongoing since the Big Bang, will eventually slow to a stop, and then the universe will give way to the force of gravity, essentially just pulling everything, planets, galaxies, it all into a single dense point until everything is just wiped out. There are other theories out there, such as the Big Freeze, the Big Bounce, or the Big Rip, which perhaps sounds the most terrifying of them all, although I'm not particularly interested in any of these options so far. The good news is, this is all billions and billions of years away, so we won't be around to find out regardless. But when it does happen, it'll be a pretty spectacular event. In our number 1 spot today, we have where is everybody? Perhaps one of the biggest space mysteries is, are we alone in the universe? Are we the only intelligent life that exists? Where the heck is everyone else? We can all hypothesize and make educated guesses, but at the end of the day, no one really knows, because to know, you have to have proof and evidence. There are many theories as to why we haven't found any extraterrestrial friends yet, and they range from the belief that we are the only intelligent life in the universe, to the belief that we are a nursery planet right now that is protected from other advanced civilizations so as to not disrupt our development. I kinda like that idea. Imagine we're just currently being taken care of by our sweet alien next door neighbors. That's a weirdly comforting thought. Despite all these theories, at the end of the day, we don't know where aliens are or if they exist at all. A Pennsylvania State University team that was being led by Dr. Jason Wright made an astonishing point, however, when they said that there is no mystery. We have searched only a fraction of the galaxy, equivalent to the water in a hot tub compared to all of Earth's oceans. This is certainly something to consider. As Douglas Adams put it, space is big, you just won't believe how vastly, hugely, mind-bogglingly big it is.
Starting off this countdown, we have Pac-Man. Yeah, you heard me correctly. Pac-Man is now in outer space. Kind of. Basically, they found the gassy remains of an ancient supernova, and it somehow formed into the shape of what looks like Pac-Man. They named this N63A. It was formed after a star collapse due to its own weight. It is located 163,000 light years from the Milky Way. Not only does it look like Pac-Man, but it literally has little pellets that it looks like it's eating. What are the odds of that? According to NASA researchers, the pellets are actually young stars. It's just eerie how much it looks like Pac-Man, like it's got The body shape and the eye and the pellets, it's got everything. In our 9th spot, we have the invisible barrier. In November, while researchers were trying to map the density of cosmic rays near the galactic center of the Milky Way, they came across something very puzzling. They discovered this mysterious barrier, as they call it. Basically, as cosmic rays were shooting out of the galaxy center, this barrier was keeping incoming cosmic rays out. They still don't know how this is possible or what's causing it. One theory is that it's a result of, and I quote, a jumble of magnetic field related to our galaxy's central black hole. Coming in at number 8, we have the shipyard of galaxies. On October 26, scientists shared that they had discovered a massive shipyard where galaxies are built. Isn't that freaking cool? I think so. Basically, they found a protocluster 11 billion light years away, which contains more than 60 galaxies. This was located in a part of the universe said to be 3 billion years old. Not only that, but the galaxies that are forming in this space are growing at unrealistic speeds, leaving researchers completely baffled. They have no clue what to make of this. Coming in at number 7, we have the falling sky. The sky is falling, the sky is falling. Well, actually, we had a Chicken Little scare last year. On May 8th, a piece of a 10-story hunk of rocket plummeted to Earth. It was a piece of China's biggest rocket, the Long March B. Here's the thing. Scientists knew that it was going to fall, but didn't really know when/where in the world it was going to strike. In the end, it ended up re-entering the atmosphere above the Maldives in the Indian Ocean. And people literally were like, okay, this is the end of the world. Thankfully, the rocket burnt upon re-entry and didn't harm anyone. I mean, scientists figured it would hit the ocean given that 2/3 of the planet is covered in water. But still, that was a pretty big gamble. They're like, yeah, I'm sure everyone will be fine. It probably won't hit land. Moving on at number 6, we have the exoplanet. In October, scientists found what they said is the first ever exoplanet outside of our galaxy. It was spotted in the Whirlpool galaxy, which is 28 million light years away from us. The team who found this exoplanet did so by using NASA's Chandra X-ray Observatory and the European Space Agency's XMM Newton Space Telescope. They used this to scan several spots across several galaxies. Their goal was to find a planet outside of the Milky Way. When they got to the Whirlpool galaxy, they spotted 55 different star systems. And that's when they found this exoplanet. They named it M51 ULS-1b. It's described as, and I quote, a Saturn-sized exoplanet that orbits its parent star and an incredibly dense object, like a neutron star or black hole, at about twice the distance at which Saturn orbits the sun. So I mean, that's pretty cool. Like, these discoveries are getting pretty wild. We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with the hut on the moon. In December of last year, China's Yutu-2 rover, which landed on the far side of the moon in 2019, spotted a weird object lurking on the moon. On the horizon of the moon, it spotted a cube-shaped object that looked like a hut, hence why it was named the Mystery Hut. The images of this hut were then shared online and people went nuts. Some believe that it's an actual hut or some other structure created by aliens. Once word got out, a satellite was directed to go take an image from that area, and shots from overhead also picked up this weird hut-like structure. Could it be that aliens created this structure? Well, the rover is now headed in its direction, but it's not a speed demon, so it will take a couple of months before it gets there. Meaning, we gotta wait a couple of months before we figure out this mystery. It's probably a rock though, spoiler alert. In our 4th spot, we have the rogue planet. In July of 2021, astronomers used gravitational lensing to find 27 possible rogue planets. These planets are called rogue because they are just floating freely in space without a star. Like Earth is bound to the sun, that's our star. These planets are just on their own. Here's the thing, these rogue planets don't emit light, so astronomers can't see them directly. Since they're far away from stars, they are dark and hard to see. But it was discovered that rogue planets could be bending light, and that's how scientists can see them. They found that, and I quote, these light warping moments occur when the gravity of a massive foreground object, like a rogue planet, bends the light of a more distant star, but more research is needed to confirm these findings. In our third spot, we have the rocks on Mars. If you have seen some of our other space videos, then you should know all about the weird things found on Mars, like their rocks. Mars is filled with rocks that look like objects from Earth. You got the spoon rock, the butt crack rock, the Egyptian statue rock, so on and so on. Well, last year scientists have been studying the rocks on Mars and they found the Harbor Seal Rock, aka a rock that looks like a cute seal. This rock was captured by the MATSCAM-Z instrument on NASA's Perseverance Mars rover. They discovered it while out looking for Martian life on Mars. Like the other oddly shaped rocks on Mars, they believe that this one was carved out by the Martian wind over many years. In our second spot, we have the ghostly jellyfish. So we have a Pac-Man in our universe, and turns out we have jellyfish as well. A study published in March showcases this odd jellyfish-looking thing found in space, and it truly is spectacular. First off, this jellyfish-like cloud is 1 million light years wide, but it's barely visible. It's visible only in a narrow band of radio light. In that study released in March, it says that, and I quote, "No structure this big has ever been seen in such a narrow band of light, so it's quite strange." Theory goes that maybe it's a radio phoenix, which is a cosmic structure created by a high energy explosion that then fades over millions of years as the structure expands and its electrons lose energy. Then it finally gets re-energized by another cosmic cataclysm. Confusing stuff, I know, but in the end, it created a giant structure that glows brightly in certain radio frequencies, but dims rapidly in others. And in our number one spot today, we have the new atmosphere. It's believed that a nearby planet may have created a new atmosphere after losing one. This planet is named GJ1132b, and it's located 41 light years away. After studying the exoplanet with the Hubble Space Telescope, they found signs that the atmosphere around the planet is new. It's not the same one that was there when the planet was originally formed. But they don't know how this is even possible. One theory is that this new atmosphere was created by gases released from molten rock in the planet. Other than that, they don't know what else could have caused it. This year, they plan to use the James Webb Space Telescope to get a better look at this exoplanet.